Craig, thank you so much for the comments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait because I know there's a delay between when we go live and when this actually happens because I'm doing it from my iPhone, not my desktop. That's why I have this in. Well, if you are not studying with us, the Come Follow Me curriculum, studying with the convert, all right, I now got proof that I'm live. So that's cool. You can get one of these journals sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's in the description link below, and I have all my highlighters and everything, and we are ready to go. Have you ever felt confused about where to turn for answers in life? Maybe you've wondered why there are so many different churches all claiming to have the truth. Joseph Smith felt that same confusion. And what happened next didn't just change his life, it changed the course of history. Today, we're diving into Joseph's incredible story of the first vision. But there's more to this story than you probably heard before. And I promised what I'm about to share with you will leave you with a powerful message to take into your own life today. I'm also going to share with you some pictures of what it was like when I visited the Sacred Grove and some of the oppositions that we received when I was an anti member. So let's go back to 1820. Joseph was just a 14-year-old boy growing up in a time known as the Second Great Awakening. Imagine it everywhere you went. Preachers were shouting from pulpits, revivals were drawing crowds, and neighbors were debating which church was true. It sounds overwhelming. It was for Joseph too. He desperately wanted to know which church was right, but every denomination and direction that he went seemed to contradict the others. Here's the thing, Joseph wasn't the only one asking these questions. People everywhere were searching for answers. But unlike most people, Joseph didn't just settle for what others told him. He applied action to the questions directly to God. And he went and asked, James 1:5, any of us lack wisdom, we ask of God. I love that. So the unexpected struggle. But what if I told you before Joseph saw a pillar of light, he was almost consumed by complete darkness? As Joseph knelt in prayer, he felt a testifying force overcome him, a darkness so powerful that it nearly stopped him from praying altogether. Have you ever felt that way? I have. With my own challenges, my own struggles, I've been there. I also started a Q&A, and I have one from Brother Craig Davis, and I'll get to your comments after we're done with this live. Now, let's talk about the first vision itself. Most people think the first vision was just about Joseph seeing God in Jesus Christ. And yes, that's a huge part of it. But what makes it even more powerful is what they said to him. Joseph was told that none of the churches at the time, they all contradicted each other. The fullness of the gospel, and that was being called, he was being called to prepare the way for its restoration. Can you imagine how overwhelming that must have been for a 14-year-old boy? Think about it. When I was 14, I was, well, I was Bingo the Clown. I had a sing and telegram business, and I used to do magic tricks. So imagine being a 14-year-old boy and getting that image or having that feeling. Here's the question for all of you. What could God be calling you to do that you might not feel ready for? Think about that. Even hit the pause on this if you have to. this story. Okay, now as I sat in church today, the topics were all about the first vision. It prompted me to go through my iPad and look at the photos of when I first visited the sacred grove. That moment changed everything for me. I saw the darkness in me leave. Those photos are my diary, a tangible reminder of God's light in my life. And I'm going to share some of those with you later. I'll never forget the day we were leaving Susquehanna, Pennsylvania, where we'd visited. All of a sudden, flash floods had washed out all the roads. Transformers were exploding. It felt chaotic, almost surreal. But even amidst all that, I felt a calm assurance, knowing I was walking the place, a place where the restoration had begun. I'm going to pause for a minute. And it almost would have looked like if you were at the pulpit today and looking down at me, it would almost look like I wasn't paying attention because I had my iPad. I was just going through all these memories and taking these notes. So I want to show you what it was like when I was leaving, when this husband and wife, Andrew and Audrey, invited me on their honeymoon to go with them to Palmyra, New York. And I'm like going, I don't want to go see some historical sites. Before I got there, it took me to a railroad crossing. And that's where and I was wearing a tank top. Now I believe hottest is modest. And I took these selfies. That's where GPS brought me. That is not where the restoration of the church is. That's where I needed to be. That's Andrew and Audrey, who I'm having dinner with tonight. And that's myself. And I had no glow in that photo. But I want to show you what it was like when we left. When we left, it was so washed out that Andrew was taking these photos and he later airdropped them. Look at this. I don't know if you can see that road. It's washed out. Now, the next photo is really surreal for me because it just shows these transformers are literally exploding on the streets. See that? All the roads are washed out. It's almost as if the adversary did not want me to go to the sacred grove because I didn't develop my testimony in Susquehanna. I was still an anti-member. I was still against the gospel. He wanted me to not go there. And Andrew and Audrey felt that. I didn't. I didn't at all because I was so la-da-dee, la-da-da. All right, let me go back to the script that I prepared. This is my way of learning. If it weren't for those photos I took that day, the story might seem unbelievable. But those moments remind me that just like Joseph, we can find light even in darkest times. Now, I always search for lesser known facts because I love sharing those with you. Here are some things many people don't know. Joseph wrote or dictated multiple accounts of his vision, and each one adds a unique insight. In one account, he talks about how he felt a deeper sense of guilt for his sins and a longing to be forgiven. Does that sound familiar to you? It does to me. He wanted to be forgiven. How often do you feel unworthy to approach God because of our mistakes? Yet Joseph's story shows all of us that God doesn't expect perfection. He expects sincerity. That's all it takes, is sincerity. Another fascinating detail is the timing of the vision. Historians suggest it happened in early spring, possibly April 1820, when the world around Joseph was coming back to life. Thank you for the heart. I don't know how that's happening. I'm just looking at that on my screen that I'm watching on my desktop and or laptop, and I'm going, there's hearts coming out of the corner of my eyes. So thank you. So think about that. This was happening. Joseph's vision marked the beginning of a spiritual renewal that would eventually bless the entire world. As of today, it's 17 plus million members strong. And I can testify to that. When you saw this, the adversary did not want me to go. I'm going to show you more photos from my first trip back to Palmyra. That's back when I stole this Book of Mormon because I didn't realize we gave them away for free. So, what does Joseph's story mean to us today? First, it teaches us that God hears and answers prayers no matter how confused or lost we feel. Like sometimes I feel like a fish flapping out of water. What do I do with my YouTube channel? What do I do with my Instagram platform? I get it. I feel it. And my friend Sandy says, I'm sending you hearts. You love this lesson. Well, you sat next to me in church today, so you saw me like I wasn't listening to the presenters, but I was. It was me taking fervent notes. Second, it reminds us that seeking truth isn't always easy. Like Joseph, we might face opposition or doubt, but those challenges are often a sign that we're on the right path. Finally, and I don't like to use the word finally because I believe I'm green, we're all still learning. It shows us that God uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Joseph didn't have all the answers, but he trusted God. And look what happened. What might God be able to do in your life if you put your trust in Him? Further, I don't always know. Honestly, I got to say, I didn't know this story was true. For years, I had questions, doubts. But like Joseph, I decided to go to God for answers. Gosh, thinking about that day, it's like it's embedded in my brain like it was yesterday. And just like God answered Joseph, he answered me. He answers you. I'm just Dennis. I'm no Joseph. I'm no apostle. I'm no prophet. I'm just Dennis. That's all I say. But he can answer all of us. I know with every fiber of my being that Joseph saw God, the Father, and his Son. Jesus Christ in the grove of trees. That moment wasn't just a vision, it was the beginning of the restoration of the gospel. Because of that experience, we now have the Book of Mormon, the priesthood, and the blessings of the temple ordinance. This Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ in conjunction with the Holy Bible. If you're like myself, who thought this was the Bible, no, this works in conjunction with the Bible. And it's for each of us. I've experienced these blessings firsthand through the gospel. I've come to know that families are eternal, that God loves each of his children, and that he has a plan for each of us. I used to think that God hated me. I used to think that Jesus didn't like me. God was going to strike me dead because that's what I was told. Because I was living a different lifestyle before I gave it up to be a servant of God and follow his commandments. If my heart can soften, anyone's heart can soften. If you're wondering if this is true, if God is really there, and if he knows you, I promise and testify from the bottom of my heart, he does. You can find out for yourself, just as Joseph did, just as I did. All it takes is a humble heart and the willingness to ask. And when you're willing to ask, miracles will happen. The socks I wore yesterday, and I took them out of the laundry today, was Doctrine and Covenants 4. And it says, um, a marvelous work. And these are from our friends at Book of Mormon, BOM socks. And they're super comfy. And no, this is not an advertisement for them. I just love them. But that's how I feel is I'm a part of a marvelous works. Do you feel like you're a part of that marvelous works? Joseph Smith's first vision is more than just a historical event. It's a message of hope for each of us. It's a reminder, it reminds us that no matter how dark things seem, God's light is always within reach. I think of my friend Sandy, who was baptized later in life. She was a nurse, took care of two prophets. I think of my friend Karen in Cedar City. She had to wait because her parents wouldn't let her be baptized, but she later went and served a mission and got married and gave birth to a beautiful daughter who's now a faithful temple worthy who serves in the house of the Lord regularly. I think about my friend Michael, who takes care of his mom and deals with the same issues I deal with, same-sex attraction. He struggles, but he's a child of God and he goes and does. He attends church. He is faithful in his covenants. So as I think of these three people that I just mentioned, think of yourself. What do you go and do? And if you feel like, find even the smallest thing, if you're struggling to come back, know that God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for your striving to be better. Joseph Smith's first vision is more than just an historical event. It's a message of hope for each of us. It reminds us that no matter how dark things seem, God's light is always within reach. Here's my question to you. What's one way you can seek God's light in your own life this week? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or in the live chat. Let's inspire each other to draw closer to Him. I want to thank you for joining me today. And if this message touched your heart in any way, please like it, share it, and subscribe. Let's keep spreading the light of Christ together. And before I go, I want to show you those pictures that I promised that I was going through and my tablet when I was basically an anti-member. This is in the Sacred Grove where Andrew and Audrey first taught me. And we went trying to find that bench. Where did that photo go? Well, you know what? Maybe I just don't need to show it to you because that's not meant to be. But this is actually in the Sacred Grove where we're walking. That's Andrew behind us. He's taking, that's me, and that's his wife, Audrey, who I'm going to see tonight for dinner. And I haven't seen them in years. I'm so excited. This is when we were in Fayette, and we were you can look how intriguing I look when the senior sister missionary from Sandy, Utah, was serving with her husband, and there's Audrey, and there's me looking down. It's like I was just so fascinated in this. Um, here's when we went to Sister Gomeris serving from the Philippines, or this is the Peter Whitmore farm. We went in Palmyra, and that's the guy who mortgaged his house so that the first printing of the Book of Mormon could be produced. And then we went to the printing house, which so these photos, I don't know why they're not in order. And that's in front of the Book of Mormon printing house. and was in downtown Palmyra, New York. And these are all Andrew's doing. That's at the Visitor Center in Hilgamore. Oops, what did I just do? Oh, Dennis, come on. How do I get rid of this? This is what happens when I do things from my iPad and I'm backwards. Sister Gomeris? And I had this look of disdain on my face. I knew I couldn't hug her, but I put my arm around her and I have felt really guilty about it. But my face is like, but look at her glow. I don't have a glow. She does. Because I wasn't baptized at the time. And I was still feeling scared. And it's okay to feel scared. But that's why we have agency, the agency to go right, to go left, or in my case, choose to remember him and go up. I want to close briefly with my testimony. I know that this gospel isn't always easy, but nothing in life is easy. And if things were easy, we we wouldn't strive to be better because they're always handed to us. I can testify that our church is led by a living prophet, apostles, that I sustain, my stake presidency, my new bishopric in Connecticut. I can testify that I'm a completely different person with this gospel. And those who have grown up into the church, my message to you is don't get complacent. Always keep a firm foundation. I was reading in a scripture today in Helaman, chapter 5, and there's a note that a sister missionary wrote right up here, and it was dated on August 13th, 2017. It says, verse 12 reminds me that's how God thinks of us. My desire that we too build our strong foundation in Jesus so that capitalized adversary will not have capital no power upon us. And I'm going to paraphrase what I highlighted in verse 12 and what stuck out to me there. So of chapter 5 in Helaman, and I used to pronounce it helium as a convert. Go figure. My sons, remember that it is upon the rock of our Redeemer, who is Christ, that the Son of God must build your foundation, that when the devil shall send forth his mighty winds, it shall have no power over you to drag you down. And I put in green, which means growth. I highlighted because I have all my markers that I use to build, which is a sure foundation, a foundation wherefore if men build, they cannot fall. Right there. And I say this as my testimony in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. And if you're just tuning in, start this from the beginning when it's fully uploaded. And our friend Rachel says, you're a convert? Yes, I am. I've only been baptized. I was baptized August 19th, 2017. I stole this Book of Mormon on June 10th to June 19th, 2017, not realizing we gave them away for free. Andrew and Audrey, who invited me to the upstate New York to Palmyra, closed with their testimony on July 19th, 2017, and I was baptized on August 19th. So 3 months later, and 3 weeks after the sister missionaries were praying for a walk-in. And now I have in here, and I'm going to cover this because I don't want it to show my home phone number, but it says, if lost or stolen, we'll pay money. And that's right down here I wrote, we'll pay money. Isn't that amazing? Because I don't want to lose this book. That's how much it means to me. So Rachel, yes, I am a convert, and I am a convert with a huge past. Actually, I was a hot mess Now I'm on the path to meeting him. So thank you for joining me today. It really means a lot. And I'm going to go and get ready to go meet my friends, Andrew and Audrey. Audrey's parents are going to be there. Andrew's parents are going to be there. And all their brothers and sisters are going to be there. So it's going to be an awesome time. I can't wait to reconnect with them. Have an amazing day. Rachel, me too. God bless. Well, God bless you as well.